What's going on, everyone? And today we're doing a builds rating video. We're going to go from a scale of 1 to 10. We got a couple of these builds here. Some of these people you may know, or some of them may be you. Yeah, but we're just going to look at these builds, scale from 1 to 10, and then we're going to go over some, specific items that we think would be better, or, maybe your build is just a 10 out of 10. We don't have to change it. But we're going to go into a Smite game after and give you like a general build based on this. I do a bunch of videos where I talk about builds, but a lot of it lacks context, as I'll tell you certain items like as honorable mentions, and those honorable mentions mention items that you'll pick really just depends on your team comp you're going up against as well as your own. So I think this video is to sort of give context to these builds while also trying to be entertaining, because we are going to rate these builds. And again, this is our opinion. We'll go over it more, but generally speaking, we're gonna rate it on how we would play based on our play styles, and certain other people who build different items can work for them, but we're just here to sort of min-max as a sort of afterthought to a build, as this game has already happened. So we're gonna go ahead and get into this. If you would like to potentially be in a video, I sent it on YouTube and in Discord, where you can send me a screenshot, you can PM me a screenshot, join the Discord, of course, you have to do that first. But if you'd like to be in one of these videos, join the Discord down below and send me a picture, and we're going to do that because I think we're going to be doing more parts to this video. So anyways, let's get into this video. So I think we have 4 builds that we're going to go over, 4 different people. And then lastly, we're going to go over one of my builds, which I don't particularly like. We can do that because, yeah, I didn't like that build. I just want to go over it too. So, but today, the first build up we have is none other than Hefe Flow. I didn't get any of these people's consent, but it's public information, so it's okay. No, but we have Hefe Flow. If you don't know, he's good friend of mine, does YouTube as well, and yeah, we're gonna critique his build here. So this is the team comp. They have a Baron, Nejat here, and they have an Osiris, Sobek, and a Rama. Now, I think their team comp is better, but they ended up winning this game. So so let's just talk about the build here. So he did decide to go into Warrior's Axe. He just built tier 1 of Thebes first. That he didn't wait to buy Warrior's Axe. He likes to do that. So he went Warrior's Axe into Gauntlet, into Jotuns, into a Midgard, Serrated Edge, and a Heartseeker. So, we have Dr. Professor Mr. Michael here as well to help me analyze this. So, I don't know. We did look over this very briefly beforehand.
Yeah, this first build.
Yeah, one of the main things that I did see that I did like, that they did bring up, was this Midgard. Midgard, I always say, is such a good item against your auto attack based gods, and that's exactly what they had. They had a Osiris and a Rama who went full attack speed, as well as Phalanx, Executioner, Berserk. I mean, he has so much attack speed. So the Midgard I absolutely love. I think the big thing here with me though is that I don't know if I'd like it on him, especially seeing as he's not the tankiest. He definitely is building hybrid, 3 items tanky, 3 items damage. And I think I understand what he was trying to do. He's probably, the idea was he's going to be in their face all the time. And so therefore the Midgard is going to have more of an effect, which is good. But at the same time, I think there are better items to build here. And especially if you're not tanky, what is the point, in my opinion? What is the point of getting this if you're going to be getting destroyed by autos anyways? Whereas if you built it on your tier, who's building full tank, I think you'd get more value out of that anyways. And tier is always in their face anyways. But that's just the first thing that I saw. And then the next thing, yeah, go ahead.
Switch some stuff around. So like one thing I noticed too is like double Thebes. So both characters are tier and Nejar both.
Oh yeah,
Thebes,
yeah.
Which is fine. Thebes is really good for getting a lot of like a shit ton of health and tank stats on both sides. I would say though that especially on Neja, and Neja is one of those characters that just does really well with Prophetic Cloak. because the ring toss, especially with their team comp too, they have Sobek and Osiris, magical and physical frontliners. So it's extremely easy for them to get those stacks online. So I just think that would be a wasted opportunity to get prophetic over, because then that also solves a little bit of a cooldown issue as well. I'm assuming that's why he probably rushed into a Jotuns as well, not just because of the cooldown, but obviously cooldown, but then also get a little bit of initial power spike. But I think that could have been probably replaced with some other items that would also allow him to have some MP5, because that's another glaring issue I see too. He doesn't really
Yeah.
have any MP5 until late game when he gets that Heartseeker online. You can play around not having any mana, but it just makes it an added thing to worry about. So instead of Thebes, I'd probably go Prophetic. It's not the end of the world because Thebes and Prophetic can kind of be interchangeable. They both pretty much do the same thing. But I think Prophetic just gives you slightly better stats overall, especially for your team as well. And that'll also give him a little bit more cooldown as well and mitigations late game. And that would probably open up some revenue too, because Neja is one of the best proccers of Runeforged Hammer as well. You could probably go Runeforged instead of Jotuns there. And then, like you were saying before, Midgard isn't the worst thing in the world because of their team comp. I actually really like Midgard being built here. But I think I'd prefer it being built on tier. I'd probably replace it with Breastplate there, because he'll still have enough cooldown with Genji's and Glad Shield, and Regrowth is more so just a luxury item for himself versus helping with the team. Plus, he's going to be a lot more in their face and tanking more shots from those two than the Neja would. Overall, though, from the standpoint of like what his job and role is, I'm assuming he just wants to have slightly tanky stats, more in line like just being able to survive a little bit, and then have enough damage to really backline and just like mess up their front line as well, which he does pretty well because he's got Thieves, he's got Axe, and then obviously they're double physical. Sobek is the only magical damage dealer, and it's also a Guardian, so he's not gonna really be that much of a threat to him. So Thebes and Axe should be plenty enough for him just to tank through Sobek. So then he's focusing more so on physical with adding that Midgard in as well, and also of course helping in with the auto attack characters in the other team. But again, I think it would have been better if you replace that with maybe a Glad Shield or even like a Breastplate or some other item.
Yeah.
I just don't think it should be built on Neja. I think it should have been built on tier instead. And then the extra damage from Serraid is great. Heartseeker is also good as well. Yeah, that's all I gotta say for now, I suppose.
Yeah, that's basically what I was saying. You said with the Midgard thing. I think, yeah, the Jotuns being there, I think Jotuns on Neja is good, but I think, yeah, if you put Runeforge here, you have no more mana problems. You put Prophetic here, you have a little bit of cooldown early game, so that when you do build, like, I wouldn't put Midgard here. I would probably put either a Glad Shield here, just because Neja does a fuck ton of damage anyways, and with Glad Shield, I'd definitely do that as well. I think Pridwin does really well with him too. One of the big things that Mike pointed out is with Neja specifically in your Glorious Pridwin, that is the left version of it that double explodes, not the blue one.
You get an auto if you go the yellow Pridwin, upgrade the glyph, you just automatically get tank stats, and you just do upwards of an extra 400 damage, because as soon as you land the ult, it immediately pops the first proc of that Glorious Pridwin. And then as soon as you get down, within a half second later, you're pretty much already on top of the person. It procs again, so you're guaranteed to get hit both Pridwin procs on the same target. So if you're trying to all-in somebody by ulting them and killing them, that item actually does a shitload of damage just for landing your ult.
Yeah, exactly. And the Pridwin does give 20% cooldown, so you'd have all the cooldown you'd need plus Glad Shield. And then last item, I'd probably build either like a Heartseeker or a Serrated Edge. I mean, yeah, that's basically it. I think this build is still pretll solid, though.
No, it's good. It does everything it needs to do.
Yeah.
For the most part, I feel like it could be optimized a little bit better to feel tankier and still be able to do the same amount of damage and same things.
So, what would you put this on a scale from 1 to 10? Decimals included, if you'd like.
Like one official score based off of like what I would do, or do you want like one thing where it's like it fits fits the criteria of a good build versus what I would do?
No, let's just do what you would do. Now,
what I would do?
So, yeah.
I would probably give this a 7 out of 10 then.
7 out of 10. Yeah. I was thinking somewhere around that ballpark too. I'm going to do a 6.5 out of 10.
That's pretty good.
But like I said, this is the criteria for us scoring that is based on what we think. Our build, I think, is more min-maxed. where you can
Right.
do more damage while also, or doing roughly around the same amount of damage. I guarantee you would with the build that we're talking about. But you'd also be tankier, which, you know, in Joust is, I mean, the tankier you are, and while also doing that much or putting out damage output is going to be what you really want. So
Not only be tankier yourself, but also from the prophetic and also the rune forge as well. You'd be helping your team out more too.
100%, the Rune Forge as well is more team oriented as well with the glyph on the ground. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and give this a 6.5 out of 10, and Mike's gonna put a 7 out of 10. Okay, that is your score. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and get into the game and just give like a very quick build on what we think, so you can have like a visual representation and have like a little couple honorable mentions. So yeah, we'll be right back. All right, here we are with the build. We got Neja. Now keep in mind this is still the same context that we are in based on the game that they're in. So I'm losing frames here, but I think we should be fine. It's gonna be a quick thing. So like I said, I think, or like we said, we want to go into Warriors X. I like Prophetic here way better than the Gauntlet, seeing as Tier already has Gauntlet, and on top of that, Neja, I mean, builds Prophetic really good too. Keep in mind, building Gauntlet on both characters is not bad either, but min-maxing I think is better. What do we say here? We wanted a hammer.
Rune forge, yeah.
Yeah,
That
rune.
fixes the mana issues, gets you your damage, makes you tankier from the health.
Yeah, the mana thing is,
5 as well. It also helps your team out as well.
yeah, absolutely. And I think the rune breaking hammer is the better one to go here. For the upgraded glyph. After that,
Glad.
yeah, Glad Shield. I was thinking of Glad Shield. Yeah, Glad Shield. I mean, Glad Shield does a lot of fucking damage, surprisingly. Especially
And
when
at
you.
this point in the game too, you can already do things. You've already got decent amount of cooldown. You've got
Yeah.
good Fizz D, a little bit of magic, but not too much. And then you've got
All the
tankiness from
MP5
rune forge,
you
and then
need.
get damage.
Yeah. And then you get extra bit of cooldown. I mean, there's just padding your stats even more. And then you can round it out with a Pridwin, I think. The Glorious Pridwin, obviously.
Yep.
And this gives you so much fucking damage anyways. So you sash somebody, you do a fuck ton of damage with your rune breaking, then you use your ult, you get 2 procs to Glorious Pridwin, on top of the fact that you know your Glad Shield procking and your Warriors Axe are you're doing so much damage. You don't even need like specific damage items like Jotuns, for example. And then against that team,
Yeah,
I think-
and then this last item can kind of be a flex pick depending on whatever you think it be. You can go
Yeah.
into a straight edge, get some movement speed, get some shit ton of pen. You can go Heartseeker there, or even if they have like anti-heal or something. Obviously not for this game because they don't really have a lot of healing, but you can even go Brawlers there or something.
yeah. Brawlers is just for any type of anti-heal you can put here.
Or if you just wanted to like flat pen too.
Yeah, and if you were going to build Brawler's Beat Sick, I think you'd build a little bit earlier, but the idea still applies with having, you know, this slot being filled up by one of these. In that game, I specifically think Serrated is a little bit better because the Sobek didn't have a lot of... the Sobek was building weird, so the Heartseeker isn't going to have as much of an effect as I think Serrated does with its stats. I mean, Serrated is so busted. It has everything you need: power, lifesteal, pen, movement speed, and then even more power and lifesteal when you use your abilities, which Neja has surprisingly long cooldowns, even when you have 40%. But this is the build that I think is better. Obviously, you would go
Axe. Upgrade Axe, yeah.
yeah, Sundering Axe. 100% go Sundering Axe
Take
here.
that out, and then you just switch them out real quick just to get the final build.
Oh yeah. Get rid of that. Sundering, Prophetic, Rune Breaking, Glad Shield, Pridwin, and then going into Serrated Edge last. Now, when you are upgrading your glyphs, I would prioritize... I mean, these ones are so good, but I'd prioritize getting your Glorious Pridwin up. This glyph upgraded first.
Yeah.
Now, if you have enough gold and you're like stomping, obviously you'd upgrade your Rune Breaking, but the hammer already does so much damage with its passive anyways that you don't really need to upgrade it as quickly as you would a Glorious Pridwin, in my opinion. But
you're spending like 600 gold just to get like literally an extra 300 to 400 damage on your ult, which is guaranteed every single time. It's too good.
Yeah, it's too good. But yeah, I think that's basically it for the build. This is our 10 out of 10 build that I think would have went crazy that game, in my opinion. So I think this is it. Yeah, we're gonna go on to the next build. All right, now we have our boy Hot Sauce, the legend himself. We have Alex, who's also goes by the name of Hot Sauce in game, and this is his build. As you can see, they're going up against a Bacchus, Cuckoo Khan, and a Horse, so note the double tank here. And Horse does a decent amount of healing, I mean plus Bacchus one, but mainly it's the Horse. Against an Arachne, weird pick, and Charon and Morgan Le Fay. Morgan being one of those mages that I think will always be good in Joust, whether or not your mages are in a good spot, which they really aren't right now. Alright, so he did 36,000 damage, no surprise, fucking Morgan Le Fay. So he went into alternate timeline, which is good, Chronos Pendant, which is also very solid. Divine Rune, like I said, did healing, that's really good. Especially seeing as, for some fucking reason, what is, I don't know what this is, but...
Let me see, life stealing, so he just decided to go...
Yeah, I
Going
don't...
with Rejuvenating Heart here.
Why did he...
So heals yourself extra.
Yeah, and your allies. Okay. Well, I guess that does help here too. I didn't even realize that this... You'd never build Cuckoo like this
I have a
ever.
question. Did you ever test that out? How Typhons and Rejuvenating work together in tandem?
I have not yet, but
I kinda wanna
it's
test that
definitely a
out.
lot better. Yeah. But yeah, no, either way, this build's trash for the Cuckoo. So the Divine actually has more of an impact here because of that build, which is good. Ob Shard, perfect. Ob Shard against the double tank is really good. This gives you 40% off of one ability. You're always going to be proccing your Ob Shard. Soul Reaver, perfect here too. I mean, they have so much health with Cloak, Genji's, Glad, Warrior's Axe, same with him here. There's so many items that give him health there too, so you're doing a lot of damage there. And then a Staff of Mirrodin, which is fine. It does min-max your cooldown. You get 40% with this Mirrodin. I think it's a little too late. On top of the fact... Yeah, it does give some pen too. But on top of the fact that Staff of Mirrodin, I don't think is the greatest on Morgan. I think you can get more value out of an item like Ethereal Staff or Rod Up to Hoodie. If you are going to build Mirrodin, you would want to build it a little bit earlier in the build. I think Mirrodin is more of like a middle game build, and if you're gonna build Mirrodin, I feel like it kind of messes up your Ob Shard pick, because Ob Shard is also another item you want to pick towards like your middle part, especially up against a double tank. So if I were to change anything about this build, is perfect in my opinion. I would just go either Rada Hoodie, but I would most likely go E-Staff against your Horus and your Bacchus, because just stealing more health, making it to where you do more damage, and you're tankier in tandem of alternate timelines. So yeah, I think that's basically it. The only other items that you could, I do a lot of mage builds. You could go tablet here, but it gets on too late, I think, for this team comp. And then you can also interchange, or you can incorporate Book of Thoth with Chronos. I've said that before, but I think the Book of Thoth plus Chronos build only really works if you were going to skip Divine Rune, which I feel like you need here. So yeah, I think this build's pretty much perfect. Besides this, so.
Yeah, I would just say pretty much the same thing before. You got obviously alternate timeline, you got Chronos for the utility, got enough cooldown, you got the flat pen from Divine alongside the anti-heal, plenty of pen with Op Shard and Soul Reaver being for those double tanks. Last item is really good for mid-maxing the pen and the cooldown, but personally, because Staff of Mirrodin doesn't really work as well on Morgan Le Fay as it would with other mages, I'd probably, yeah, E-Staff is good for those double tanks, also making yourself more tanky for that alternate timeline with the defenses, and then obviously if you want to just do more damage in general to people with lower HP, Rod Duty in there as well. I completely agree.
Yeah, and he did pull this up. Mike pulled this up. I don't think you're able to see this, Mike, but I'm basically showing a picture of the way the Staff of Mirrodin works.
Yeah,
so you can
interactions with which gods it applies to their ultimate, and also if they're good to follow up on as well. So the first check marks are the gods in which Staff of Mirrodin actually applies the 20% increase in damage, actually applies to the ultimate itself. And the second one is whether or not it's good with abilities. So if there's an X in the first one, it doesn't increase the damage at all. So like, for example, Anubis there has an X at the top left. His ultimate does not get any benefit from Staff of Mirrodin, but someone like Agni, Yanis, Cuckoo Khan especially, it's crazy. You get 20% increased damage on the ultimate itself, which is disgusting. And then obviously the second check mark is whether or not they've got good spammy abilities afterwards to follow up with.
With that 20%, yeah. So basically the specific part that makes Staff of Mirrodin work is the finished casting part. That's like the main part of that build, or main part of the description of this item that makes this item really good, which is why certain gods like Morgan Le Fay doesn't, you know, it does work. Like the amount of damage that you do afterwards when you do use your ult will apply, but the initial part of it won't be. Whereas with Cuckoo, yeah, you'll just use your ult and then you'll just have 20% more damage, which is why it's also very good on Agni as well. So cool information if you wanted to screenshot that. This is actually super helpful with your Staff of Mirrodin, whether or not you want to buy that. Now, if you were to rate this on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you rate this as?
I'd honestly give it a 9.5. It's basically a 10, basically just taking away a half point, because it's not like Staff of Mirrodin's the end of the world. It is a viable option, even if you were just going by the base stats. It's not like he can still utilize the passive, because obviously it doesn't apply to the ult, and Morgan can combo a little bit right after the ult as well with her base kit, just maybe not as good as other characters can, but she can still utilize it.
Yeah.
Also, you get some pen cooldown. I overall think it's a good item there. I just personally would rather go East Staff or Raw Tahuti, but otherwise, the rest of the build is perfect in my opinion.
100%, I agree.
Probably 9.5.
Yeah, I'd give it a 9. I 100% agree with everything you just said, so I gave it a 9. Real quickly, we're going to go into... This one should be even shorter, because, I mean, his build's perfect. We're just going to copying and pasting, basically, but we're going to go into a game real quick. Alright, now we have a Morgan build. Like I said earlier, this is just going to be a really cookie-cutter build, because a lot of mages don't build all that much differently, even from last season. They usually build pretty much the same thing, on top of the fact that, I mean, he kind of built perfectly. And then we go into Divine, because they did have a little bit of healing that they wanted to stop from the Cuckoo build healing too, which is weird. Ob Shard, obviously, for the tanks. Towards the middle of that game, will actually do a lot of damage. That 40% off of, like, Morgan 3, because Morgan 3 does a lot of fucking damage. And then here, Soul Reaver, perfectly placed here as well. And then, last but not least, this is where I'd put an Ethereal Staff instead of the... the other item that I can't think of its name. Why can't I think of the name? No. The item that he built. Yeah, besides Staff of Mirrodin, this is what I would build. I build Ethereal Staff. You can build Rod of Tahuti, because it's still good and it has Glyph. So glyphs are obviously good, but yeah, I'd build Calamitous Rod on him. Although you can build the other one, because being speedy is cool too. But yeah, this is the general build. I think having E-Staff against those tanks would probably make it a lot better, on top of the fact that Alternate does give you a little bit tank stats, and I'm assuming that Charon went Gauntlet, which means you're going to have an aura of more protections. So yeah, I think this is basically your build here. Perfectly, well, this build's perfect. His build was basically perfect, just one item, but yeah. This is the build for Morgan, and we're going to go on to the next build. It'll be an interesting build we're going to be talking about next, so yeah. Okay, now we have Lucky. His name is Trinity on this. This was, so for context, the reason why this isn't on Smite Guru, and I took a screenshot that this is on Tome, the app, was because this is when we did our tournament. So it was Cantor on the Atlas, Crazy on Morgan, and then Lucky on the Danza, and there I am on the Hoi, Nami's on Bacchus, and then Javi's on the Agni. Now, specifically wanted to talk about this build was because it's an interesting build that I think is good on Danza. Just the way he performed this build just doesn't meet the standards, which is a tank Danza build. I think tank Danza build slaps and can definitely put in a lot of work. He can do a lot of things. You can go into a damage ability based build, or you can do like a regular build like this, so I built with Hoi, and then you have the tank build. So he's got a lot of utility utility in terms of, like, you know, all around build set. You can do a lot of things with him. Now, we're not going to go over every single build. We're just going to go over the tank build here. If you'd like to see like an ability based build, or just like the regular build that doesn't really change much from like this build, for example, I do have that video for how to build all hunters, which is still, for Danza specifically, is still valid. Or you can go back into my most recent how to build meta update video, which will also go over some ability or some regular builds for hunters. But let's talk about this build. Right off the bat, I think everything in this build is wrong. I don't.
Yeah, I was gonna say. As soon as you showed me this build, I was kind of like, what the fuck am I looking
Yeah,
at?
what's going on? I think his idea. I know what he was trying to do. Just I don't think you would ever want to build this. Bluestone for the abilities. Breastplate just because it gives you maybe a lot of protections. It gives you cooldown. This giving you movement speed and attack speed, I guess, while also making you tanky. I think at this point you're too tanky though for what you would want to do with him. You still want to be
Yeah,
tanky, but you want to be able to dish out the damage as well.
I was gonna say you kind of don't really fulfill the purpose of either role. Essentially, you're not tanky enough to be able to survive a long time, and then also if you're going ability based, especially on a hunter of all things, in order for ability based hunters to thrive, you kind of need to have a lot more damage, if not
Yes.
like the entire build be damage essentially. Because you're kind of just in a halfway point and on all fronts. Like you've got, so Bluestone's obviously, if you're going ability based, Bluestone's the right way to go. Like Jotuns and Runeforged are fine. Runeforged, I'm not the biggest fan of, but I can see why you would go that for the ult as well as the 2 as well. I just don't think it's very consistent.
No, it's bad, I think.
But I don't think it's very good either, but I can see where the ideas were going. The breastplate and talisman, I don't think you would ever build this on like any hunter.
No.
I don't think that's very good at all. If you were to do anything else, you'd want to go like Transcendence or even a Soul Eater.
Yes.
You want more lifesteal, potentially even like one attack speed item just to have a little bit of attack speed as well.
Yeah, this just isn't. I mean, yeah, that you noted the Runeforge with the 2 and the ult, and like you said, it's just not consistent. You use your 2, and I even felt it. I don't think he had a single Runeforge proc when I played against him.
Because it's not consistent. You can easily walk out of it, or it's just it's easily avoidable.
Yeah, so that's like too niche of an item to go. Jotuns is fine, but like again, like he said, it's just half and half. There's nothing you don't do enough.
You need like a Heartseeker in there, Crusher, Transcendence, a Soul Eater. You're not in any of this order, of course, but those are some contenders. I just feel like you can't really, if you wanted to go a tank Donza build or even a tank Hunter build in general, you kind of have to go more auto attack focused more so than ability based, because ability based while being hybrid doesn't really work for hunters.
No, yeah. Certain items like Kins, which doesn't really rely on base power you have, it relies on the enemy's team's health. Like you always need to build Kins on like a tank hunter build, in my opinion. We're gonna go into a build. We're not gonna talk too much here. We're just gonna go straight into a build after this, because this is probably gonna be the longest part of it, because there's so many things that he did wrong, and we can kind of, if you want to do a tank Donza build or any type of tank hunter build, because there are a couple other hunters you can do it with, like Artemis, for example. We'll talk about that. But before we get into that, what would you rate this build on a 1 through 10 scale? I know mine.
You're not allowed to give a 0, right?
No.
No, I'm
No,
kidding.
it's 1 through 10. Yeah.
I would give him, okay, so like, honestly, a 1 would be like if you fucking like didn't build a starter, built it way later. You built like Thebes last item or something, or you built things completely out of order.
Yeah.
At least he had a somewhat of like a format as to like what he wanted to go.
He had an idea.
I'd probably give him like a 3.
Yeah.
Being fairly generous. I immediately thought 2, but I was like, okay, I'll maybe give him a 3.
No. Yeah, I 100%. No, I'm not charitable here. I'm giving him a 2. I almost want to give him a 1, but like you said, a 1 is like
a 1 should be like you're building.
You have no idea.
Yeah, you're building like Tainted Steel into like Absolution.
Yeah, some stupid shit like that.
Some really dumb shit.
He at least had an idea.
Some form of an idea here.
Yeah, that's gonna be a 2 for me, dog. You said a 3?
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, there's our scores. We wanted to make sure we get like a solid build in there, and then a stinker of a build, and then maybe something like where we can kind of correct on. So but yeah, let's go ahead and get into the actual build. All right, now we have our Donza build. Keep in mind, this is tank Donza, not a regular Donza build. This is specifically for that build, because I do think it's a viable build, and I think it's actually pretty good if you get it online, once you get it online, because to be clear, this build doesn't really get online till later, so you would want to try to be careful for the most part. But instead of going bluestone, which I think warriors actually is better, it gives you tank stats, gives you a little bit of power, passives I think just better, because you can proc that off of your autos too, whereas bluestone it's only your abilities.
Yeah, you'll be able to chunk a little bit early.
Exactly. I like going Gauntlet of Thieves after this too. We're gonna give some honorable mentions to other items too, because there are some other items that are still pretty good for this. But basically, it's just like an auto attack based hunter, or a tank auto attack based tank hunter build for Danza. Yeah, so we go Gauntlet of Thieves here just because it gives you basically what 65 of each protection once you get it stacked. It gives you health, which will eventually help you get into once you get Axe of Animosity, which is based off of your own maximum health. You'll be able to do that more too. But that's basically it. That's basically all the tank that you need to go, in my opinion. No, not Aussie. Next item that I like going, yeah, Dominance is, I think, what you need to go after this. Like I said earlier with this build, that it just doesn't get online until later in the build, and that's just because you have no mana with this. You're not gonna have any MP5 or anything like that, and I think Dominance already is a good item to begin with its passive, power, attack speed, everything like that, but it also gives you 20 MP5, which is going to be pretty clutch on Danza and will allow you to not really run out of mana as quickly. And so I think this is a good power spike for him, and this is when you can actually start doing things. A little bit weird item to go here. It's 4th item in, but I still think you need that sustain with its Aussie passive. We were talking about Crimson Claws, and I guess technically Crimson Claws can be...
I personally don't think it's... I tested it out a few times. It's not enough lifesteal on its own, and then you don't usually get to utilize the shield all too well, especially even during a fight, so I personally wouldn't go Crimson Claws. If you were to go lifesteal item, it'd probably have to be Aussie.
Yeah, I agree. I think Aussie definitely is the better play here for the passive that gives. This, it only is, like, if you can somehow get the passive effect on this, because the one thing on paper this item is really good with, the lifesteal isn't going to compare to Aussie, but its passive is specifically why I think you could get this. If you could get the shield on, you could actually be clutch, because its passive does give you 15% of your maximum health with the gauntlet and everything. You can actually get a fat shield with Crimson Claws. I would only build this later if you are going to do it, but again, the Aussie sustain that you get, I think, is just better than Crimson. But technically, you know, if you're somehow able to get this item to work, it can be super clutch. I'm just gonna put that as an honorable mention if you wanted to try that out.
The reason why it doesn't really work too well in practice is because it only gives you a little bit of lifesteal. You get about 15% lifesteal, and then also you don't have... The lifesteal is going to be based off of the amount of damage you do, which obviously you're going Thieves and Axe.
Yeah.
So then in order to actually get that 15% shield when you're at full HP, not only are you not going to be able to lifesteal a lot from just that one item, just in general if you're low, but even if you're at full HP, you'd have to like auto down
like a camp or a wave.
Like a full wave and a half in order to get that up, and that's just too niche of a scenario.
Yeah. But if you were to make that work, you could come in and play, but I think Aussie is just better. After that, Xe, just one of the best items in the game right now. It really depends. I think Ferocious Executioner is still really good, but Envenom just seems to be the play most of the time just because of its passive. With all these gods having shields and shit, fucking...
and of course the anti-heal for Hunter.
And the anti-heal. Yeah,
and
it's just...
in general.
It's just too good. And if you know, there's no shields at all, and there's no healing at all, that, well, Executioner will have an effect on you. Obviously go the other one, because it's still very good. And then last item, you have to go Kins. Kins is super good on a tank god. You'll see this on other gods like warriors as well, and that's just because Kins has its passive, which allows you to do damage based on their maximum health. The more health that they have, the more damage you'll do. And as a tank Danza, that's going to come in really clutch. And that's basically the build here. I think... Here you go.
Yeah, then you upgrade the starter into Axe of Animosity, then this is where you become even more tanky. You get a lot of health, you get a lot of CCR, and then you just basically have a secondary Kins essentially with Axe Animosity procs, especially with Thebes health in there as well. So you have just enough protections on both sides to be able to outlive things. You've got plenty of tower shred as well with Axe of Animosity, and then you shred people with 4 damage items.
Yeah, and you see you're almost at 3k health with this, and I don't know, this doesn't account because this isn't stacked yet, but you're basically close to 3k health. which yeah, definitely you're smacking. Like again, once you get this build online, you're doing basically as much as a hunter would, but you're also can survive a little bit. And I think Danza had in his kit with his 1, 2, 3 and his ult, I think perfectly encapsulates what a good hunter tank hybrid, whatever you want to call it, hunter build would be. Now there are a couple other items that I like to go, or you can go if you want to be even more tankier. And that's just the old Shoguns and Berserkers items here. Yeah, if you wanted to build this, you'd have to obviously interchange Gauntlet. You'd be a little bit more tankier, and you'd have a little bit more, you know, you have more passives than just like straight up protections. You get more out of that, but it does take up an extra slot. If you were to go, like if you were to go...
You'd be so you'd basically be like Berserker Shoguns, and then 3 items would probably be I'd probably have to go Dominance Xe Kins.
Yeah, and you have to get rid of Aussie.
Forego the because first of all, you're only gonna have 3 dedicated damage items, which means Aussie's not gonna heal you that much based off the amount of damage you're doing, so it's kind of irrelevant. So that's another thing with this build, is that you're not gonna have as much healing. But then you'll be able to shred with Dominance, Xe, and Kins. This build also works as well. Personally, though, I like the Thieves build better just because I feel like you kind of need that 4th damage item just to really feel like an actual hunter. Like, you can still do things with damage items, but I personally think the 4th really kind of hammers it home, especially with the axe procs as well.
Yeah, and that's basically your Danza, tank Danza build. Yeah, I think that's basically it. So we did 3. We're planning on doing more in the future. We just want to start out with 3, see how, you know, how this does. But I think regardless, we're going to keep doing these. I think this is just fun. And not only that, it gives context to, like what I said in the beginning of the video, it gives context to your builds and stuff. Because I know people still ask me, like, what do I build here? What do I build here? And I'm like, I tell them, like, you know, if you look at my video, it helps gauge that. And they're like, yeah, but you know, when I'm in game, there's certain things I can't think on the spot or whatever. So hopefully, you know, this will help. You know, it gives context to your builds. And what you can go instead. Like I said, we're gonna be doing more in the future. We're gonna be talking about some more other people too, like some higher end gamers. This one was just for like Discord, you know, looking at a couple of builds. Not a lot of people gave me their screenshots, so I just had to select it myself, but that's fine. For next video, we're probably gonna be doing some more people within the Discord that, you know, I generally talk to, but we're gonna talk about some other people, like maybe Barty or Cosmos. So we're going to talk about that in the future, but I think that's it. If you have any suggestions, feedback, put it in or tell me in the comment section down below. Yeah, I'd really appreciate if you some feedback on this, because I think this is a good idea. I think it's fun. It's also very helpful. But if you have any suggestions on how to switch this up to make it more entertaining or helpful, then let me know. Of course, join the Discord down in the description below. Please, because I know a lot of you have a lot of questions, and it's a lot easier to address them in Discord rather than in the YouTube comment section. But I think that is everything that I have for you. So with that being said, thank you guys for watching.